So how this shows up, how self-sabotage can show up is not taking the risks you need to take, not taking the actions you want to take, or not taking them consistently. And then those things also feed into stressful mindset patterns that drain your energy. So that could also be self-judgment. So it's kind of like this self-perpetuating cycle we get into with self-sabotage. Some of the causes of self-sabotage are fear of failure, fear of success. Those two are the two sides of the same coin. People think about a fear of failure all the time, but they don't talk as much about fear of success, because a lot of times people have they don't want the burden of responsibility of success, so that can also be a thing. So so those are all relevant. All right, so some underlying beliefs underneath these include that you don't believe it's possible to create your vision. So just notice if that resonates for you. If a part of you doesn't believe it's possible to do the thing you say you want to do. Another one is feeling powerless to change it or create it. And that can look like waiting for it to come to you, so that you feel like something outside yourself is going to have to happen before it can change, instead of you feeling like you have the power to change it. So some ways that self-sabotage shows up in people's lives are, this is a huge one. I used to be the queen of this, and sometimes I still am. Setting too high goals or expectations. So like shooting too high, too far, too fast. And I've learned a lot over the years about goal setting, and they say to set a goal that's like 80% achievable, the 80% chance of being achievable. So like it's a stretch for you because it's not 100% guaranteed. It's still a stretch, and it's not so much of a stretch that there's just a 20% chance of achieving it. In this setting too high goals and expectations, that could be creating disappointment, which is also a self-perpetuating cycle, just self-defeating cycle. It can look like burnout, like trying too hard, too fast to do something that's not really aligned, maybe even, and then losing steam and motivation, and even vision in a way. Or belief in your vision. Inconsistency. So, getting some momentum and getting something moving and then not actually doing it consistently. And I'm going to talk about all these things more in depth too. Under earning. So undercharging for your work, not putting your work out there enough to sell enough. Also connected to that is over giving. And that can look like giving your work away in a way. It can look like giving your time away and not focusing on your vision and what you want to create. And that's connected to unclear boundaries. So, and that could be with anything. That can be with time management, technology, family, friends, habits, addictions, anything. And then dropping balls. So not actually following through with things you say you're going to do, and communicating with people you say you're going to communicate with, those kinds of things. Okay. Another way self-sabotage can show up is, and this is interesting, not knowing enough about what you're doing and then just going for it without support or research, because you think it's supposed to be intuitive. So for example, doing certain business skills or things that you don't know how to do, and not actually learning what you need to learn to be able to do them confidently. And I'm not saying I don't go for it or don't go for it, but like, there is a certain level of learning that needs to happen too, like actual skills. And so sometimes people think that business is intuitive and you should just be able to do it without actually learning the skills it takes. These are also connected too. So not giving yourself the environment or support or accountability. So this is like sort of the masculine side of masculine being a container of something. The environment, support, or accountability or structure, I would say, to succeed. So basically that can be not having a work environment that's conducive to getting stuff done, having habits with technology that don't support you doing the important things, losing momentum, and getting caught into self-judgment without having any kind of structure and accountability and support to pull you out of that often, like a support group or structure for having to put things out into your business. Let's see here. And then another one is like basically a loss of self-trust, like feeling like you've started things before and it hasn't always finished, you haven't finished it or hasn't gone the way you thought. So not believing it's not believing it's possible now and feeling powerless. Like the belief that it didn't work before, so it won't work now. So getting caught in that, that lack of self-trust or self-doubt, or self-judgment even, and not feeling like you can step out of that and into the present moment and the future instead of the past. Another self-sabotage cause is not being fully committed to your vision or not having a clear vision. So not really knowing what you want and just kind of spinning wheels, but actually, the cure for that is getting clear on what you want exactly, envisioning, and being able to step into commitment to it every day. Okay, there's 3 more of these. Okay, so all right, so part of getting caught in the cycle of self-judgment is feeding self-judgment with questions that are disempowering in your mind even. So asking yourself disempowering questions such as, why can't I blah, 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 or how come I can't blah, 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 or how come I always da, da, da. So like kind of like poo-pooing on yourself basically, by asking questions that your psyche gives answers to that they're not actually helpful, right? So your mind finds answers to questions you ask, and if you're asking questions that are not giving you an uplift, then it's like I'm pulling you out of this kind of things, pulling your head out of your ass basically, then you're creating self-inflicted stress in this spiral, in this cycle of self-judgment. Another one is capped money ceiling. So not doing the money mindset work it takes to support you actually receiving money and then having the habits to manage it. And those are all connected. So that can look like guilt for receiving money, lack of self-worth, not trusting yourself with money, fear of being burdened by responsibility for making money. And like the things that, like saying, if you have this business, then you have to keep doing it, and also maybe even feeling like you have to create something you don't actually want, and not having a concept of a vision that you're inspired by, that you're excited about. Okay, and this is the last one. And all right, so basically, okay, so this is a little bit nuanced. So resisting the things that you need to do, that you want to do, because you're over-identified with stereotypes of how you see yourself. So for example, sometimes artists, creatives, healers, and spiritual people or empaths, any of those kind of categories, I fall into all those myself. The over-identification of like, oh, I'm not a business person, or I'm not good with numbers, or I'm not good at math. And if you heard my TED Talk, you heard my whole math story about how I wasn't good at math when I was a kid, and how I avoided numbers and ended up filing bankruptcy in my first business. And, I was the worst with business stuff. I didn't do my numbers. I barely did marketing. I was in magical thinking with my business plan. And then eventually, after I bounced off a couple of bottoms or like hit a couple of bottoms, I got support and stretched into areas I resisted. And after many years, I'm a total business geek now. I believe that business is fun, creative, and a dynamic creative process that's a vessel for impact. And I love it. So basically, if you have some part of you that's like saying that you don't, I'm not this or I'm not that, and you're holding yourself back because of it, just be aware of that. And we're going to do some exercises about that thing, because I think that's really where this biggest key is, honestly. And then another thing that's tied into this. So what we're talking about here is left brain versus right brain. And so the left brain things I'm talking about that you might resist, that are areas you might sabotage, are money, numbers, financial planning, all that kind of stuff, planning ahead period in your business, not following through, or being inconsistent with marketing. So these are all stereotypes of like, the starving artist, the flaky healer, like all that kind of stuff, right? And our strength as healers, creatives is in the right brain. It's in the intuition. It's in the visualization, the other realms. Basically, it's not necessarily in like getting shit done, but we can do that and we can stretch into it. And that's what has to happen for us to step into our potential and our highest impact. So here's this amazing quote by James Clear. So James Clear wrote the book Atomic Habits, which is genius. And it's very, very forgiving, like not judging yourself, but just like taking small little tiny acts and like really showing the value of how these little tiny things can add up and can change things exponentially. So here's the quote. Every small action you take is casting a vote for the type of person you want to become. One push-up does not change your body, but it casts a vote for the type of person you want to become. It reinforces your desired identity. It reinforces your desired identity. And it's like politics. You don't need a unanimous vote to win. You just need the majority. These votes accumulate evidence to help you look at yourself in a new way. Habits reinforce your desired identity. True behavior change is really identity change. The goal is not to run a marathon. The goal is to become a runner. The goal is not to meditate. The goal is to become someone who meditates. And then the time comes when you aren't really motivating yourself anymore. The habits the habits support you acting in alignment with the type of person you see yourself to be. So it's a state of becoming through the choices you're making and the actions you're taking, and then small incremental ones of that. And I think one thing he also says is that a lot of times people get into this concept of a radical thing, like, oh, I have to like, if I want to get in shape, I have to go run a marathon. It's like, no, all you have to do is get off your couch, and go for a walk. It doesn't have to be this huge, big thing. And the same is true for business. Like, it doesn't have to be, you have to hire this, marketing person for $20,000 per year to get your business off. It can be being more visible on social media, or learning about social media in ways you haven't before, or something else. It doesn't have to be something, it has to be something you want to move toward, but you haven't done it yet. It doesn't have to be something you hate or don't want to do. Exactly. Okay. So pull out a piece of paper and a pen, or you can type it if you want to too. And think of one way that you sabotage yourself. So this could be, I'm going to add some questions here. So something you avoid doing, something you could do that would boost your business, but you're not doing it yet. Something you need to learn, but you're avoiding. Or something you need that you're not giving to yourself. Something like support or something like that, for example. And the thing about this stuff is that it can be super simple too. So you can type in the chat here, for those of you live. What is a way that you sabotage yourself? So something you avoid doing, something you could do that would boost your business, but you're not doing yet, something you need to learn but that you're avoiding, or something you haven't, some kind of support you need but haven't given it to yourself yet. So what is something that comes up for you? I think for me, sometimes I get overwhelmed by ideas. And so I'll have a billion ideas, and then I'll get a burst of energy and I'll try to do them all at once instead of spreading them out. So I'm working on right now, creating a structure where I'm spreading things out over a year instead of like, trying to do it all at once. So I'm motivated. Okay. So one person just chimed in, not giving themselves their self-support, give time to others rather than self. So, okay, got it. So like not prioritizing your own time for yourself and for your vision. Got it. Thank you for sharing. Okay. All right. Scattered ideas, not finishing one thing, even small steps. So Yeah, so that has to do with the time thing too. It's the same person. So yeah, got it. And also creating priorities, Yeah, beautiful, beautiful awareness. Okay. And notice here, I'm just gonna clarify, I'm not asking you to judge yourself at all. And for whatever this thing is that comes up, having compassion for that action, that thing that is happening there, and we'll talk a lot more about that this week, but that's, that self-compassion for the part of you that feels afraid, that has been, wants to get things done and can't focus, whatever. So really having compassion for that part of yourself and acknowledging it, that it's trying to do something, it's just not as effective as it could be. So, all right. So one person said, okay, so one person hates social media. So she's like delaying putting her work out there on social media and how to do it. Okay, got it. Yeah. Yeah. And, and it may not be that that's the way to put it out there too. It could be that there's something you're excited about that's more interesting to you, a way to put it out there. But if you hate it, then I would say learn how, get some support in learning how to do it. Because learning, like, for example, Instagram is this whole world. I heard a social media manager last year for a few months, and I learned so much I didn't know. I'm thinking about doing a class on it just because I feel like there's so much basic stuff that we don't know. And when you know it, it really changes the game. So that kind of thing is helpful to get support, if you want. And then the thing is, like, you can get support and dive into it and then change your mind. I did that I remember one time I was trying to learn some new jewelry when I had a jewelry design business. I was trying to learn some new jewelry skills, and I went to this mentor, and I, went to, like, she was going to show me all this stuff. And I was like, I don't want to do that. And I was like, oh, great. So I took the step, and then I can let it go because I got clear that I didn't want to do it. And I got clear on what I did want to do. So sometimes it's just taking that next step, even though it may not lead you where you think, Okay, great. Okay. So now we're going to, thank you for sharing, those of you who shared. All right, so now we're going to do a visualization for a few minutes. And it's going to be, I have one more share real quick. Okay, great. So more cash flow control, better project and time management, more personal time. So time management, basically. And cash flow, I can, this is a client who's typing, I can actually show you a tool for that as well. Okay. And then, all right. So not finishing a project for a client that needs to happen, and procrastinating that thing. Okay. So then asking yourself, like, what that is, and figuring out what you need to get it done. So that's a good question to ask yourself. What would you need to do or have in place to get it done? And, don't shy away from bribing yourself. I'm a big fan of bribing myself. Okay, I'm going to do this, and after I finish it, or after I do half an hour, I'm going to do this. It totally works for me anyway, for a lot of people. Yeah, or set a deadline and then break it down into steps as well. So hopefully that's helpful too. Yeah, and I'm excited to see what that is because I know that person's work and it's gorgeous. Okay, so visualization. Okay, so take a breath and settle into your chair. Loosen your jaws, relax your face, your shoulders. Take a couple of deep breaths and just noticing the surfaces beneath you, supporting you, and feeling that grounding. With your eyes closed or your gaze low, imagine, and just to really bring you into this, let your imagination take over here. Don't get into your head too much about this. You can trust the process here, and I'll show you what to do with it afterwards. Okay. Imagine that you're sitting in your workspace, which you may be sitting there. Just imagine you're sitting there, and imagine the feeling of sabotage you just named, feeling all those things: overwhelm, uncertainty, self-judgment or stress about not doing something. And just feel that for just a second and notice that's where you're at. And breathe into it. And tell yourself it's okay. And then when you look up, you notice that there's someone in the room with you, and it's your future self that is more business savvy than you are today. This is a future self that has made more progress and created momentum in the business. And they have more support and structure, and they've made things happen. They've created that for themselves. And just notice how they look different from you. What they look like, how do they walk, how do they hold themselves, and what are they wearing? Just notice. Feel into their energy and feel how they feel toward you. They have something important they want you to know. And as you nod, they can share it with you. So see what wisdom they have to share with you and what it is you need to know to move forward from where you are, because they've been there. Let's see if there's anything else they want to share with you. And then knowing you can come back to meet them and greet them anytime. Thank them in whatever way you see is appropriate. And then take a deep breath and write down a few key words to remember this experience. And come back to your body. Forgot that part. And take another breath. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes and write down some words to remember this. And if you want to type them in the chat, I would love to hear that too. What wisdom did this future self part of you bring to your workspace? Okay, so what are some things that came up for you? What feeling states did this part of you embody, or what wisdom did they share with you? Okay, one person said, dress each day like I'm a CEO that's empowering and will put you in the mindset to be CEO. Okay, great. Ooh, I like that. So really nice, like it's sort of a anchoring of this embodiment of being that person, you know? I love it. Great. Thank you for sharing. Great. Okay, what else? Part of me is like, really, do I have to do that from the waist down? Because I like to wear comfortable pants when I'm on Zoom. But yeah, at least from here up. All right, clear clutter and space in mind because you love the look of clarity. Okay, so like your space reflecting clarity. Create one project with a plan to move toward becoming the type of person you want to identify with. Okay, so one project and with a plan. So the plan is supporting and anchoring and structuring this person you want to become, this part of yourself you want to access basically too. Great, I love it. All right, one person's affirming the clean clutter thing. Yeah, clutter, and I used to be a professional organizer. And since I've had my business currently, I've hired an organizer twice because I get so much going on that I get support to like reorganize, and clear things. Yeah, great. Okay. Okay, I love these. Thank you all. Feel free to keep sharing those. And I'm going to go to the next thing, which is some really empowering questions as we finish up here. So okay, these questions are life-changing, and you can write these down if you want. Okay, what would you need to believe about yourself to be able to ... So whatever it is you say you want to do that you have aspired to, what would you need to believe about yourself in order to be able to do that? Okay, and somebody just posted an answer to the last one. Confidence and joy, matter of factness and clarity. So this same person who was like working on the painting project earlier says, just paint, girl. Every time you paint, you make good money. Bingo. Good. Yeah, your paintings are amazeballs. So yes. And also interdimensional and glorious. So yes, just paint, girl. So it's a really simple message, right? Yeah, I love it. Okay. So the first question again was, what would you need to believe about yourself to be able to ... What could you do differently to evolve your habits to support who you want to become? And a lot of you've already answered this question after the visualization. Yeah, so those are two questions that can support you to step into this next level of who you're becoming, while still honoring who you've been and where you've been and having compassion for that and moving forward. So getting out of the pattern of self-judgment is also a big deal. And it's a very collective thing that we have. And so it's like stepping out of that and into what would you need to believe about yourself to be able to do the thing? And what could you do differently to evolve your habits to support who you want to become? Okay, so then I encourage you to create an anchor for this. So, maybe for the, so it could be like a Post-it, it can be a painting, it can be a drawing, it can be a quote, it can be, crayons on your mirror. Dry erase crayons, that's what I have. So like dry erase in your bathroom mirror. So like whatever it is, like some kind of anchor to honor the remembering this future self, this business savvy version of yourself that can keep it simple, has confidence, that, brings the CEO energy, and it's your version of CEO. It doesn't have to be something that you don't like, So what is it? How can you anchor it? So think about that. And you can type that in the chat too, if you want to. Is it going to be a Post-it? Is it going to be a piece of art? Is it going to be just a word that you put on your computer? Like what is that thing? Yeah, I love this. And because this anchor is big, it's like, it seems like a super simple thing, but it's really a game changer to have that level of just like simplicity to come back to after you get in your head, and you get your head up your ass. It's like, okay, boom, here's the thing. Clarity. How can I create more clarity? Or just paint. How can I just paint? Well, let's just go do this, and then that ties into imperfection too, which we're going to talk about another day. So I'm excited about that as well. Yes. Okay. Any last shares here? So the next couple of days, we're going to talk about perfectionism and procrastination. And the Friday, we're going to talk about the 2 C's that you need. So I'm excited about all these things, and they all tie into each other. It was really hard to figure out the linear process to teach this because I could teach it so many ways. But I feel like the self-sabotage conversation to begin with is important. So yeah, and feel free to review this, like listen to this again to remember like all these little simple things that you can do and to shift, from self-sabotage and to recognize it so you can shift it. Because that's really the key. Is like, oh, okay, that's that. I'm doing this, And there's something I'm going to share this week that's going to be huge in helping your brain unravel that as well. So I'm really excited about all that. All right. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for participating fully. Thank you for listening to those who listen to the recording. And I'll see you tomorrow for day 2 of the Get Your Head Out of Your Ass Challenge. I'm Jen Ailey. I'll see you soon. Thank you.